What I'm about to show you will terrify every parent watching this video. In 2012, something happened to an entire generation of children that turned them into the most anxious, depressed, and suicidal generation in recorded history. This isn't opinion, this is data, and it's happening worldwide. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what destroyed childhood, and it's probably in your pocket right now. I'm talking about Jonathan Haidt's explosive book, The Anxious Generation. The book that has parents deleting apps, schools banning phones, and tech executives finally admitting what they've done to our kids. Because what happened in 2012 wasn't an accident. It was the exact moment childhood died, and the weapon that killed it, social media. Stay with me for the next 15 minutes, and I'll show you the most shocking mental health data you've ever seen. Because if you have kids, no kids, or were ever a kid yourself, this story will change everything. Jonathan Haidt isn't some anti-tech conspiracy theorist. He's a respected social psychologist at NYU who spent years studying human happiness and moral development. He's written best-selling books about how to live better lives. But in 2024, Haidt published something that has shaken the entire world, data so disturbing that even Bill Gates called it a must-read and a wake-up call. Because Haidt didn't just find correlation, he found causation. Between 2009 and 2019, teen depression rates increased by 60%. Anxiety disorders among teens rose by 71%. But here's the part that will haunt you: teen girls attempting suicide increased by 167%. And it all started in one specific year, 2012, the year smartphones became ubiquitous, the year social media went mobile, the year childhood officially ended. Before I show you exactly what happened in 2012, I need to ask you something personal. If you're a parent, be honest. How much screen time does your kid get daily? If you're under 25, how many hours did you spend on your phone yesterday? Drop your honest answer in the comments. And hit that like button, because what I'm about to reveal about smartphone addiction will make you want to throw your phone in a drawer and never look back. Here's what Haidt discovered when he mapped global mental health data. From the 1990s through 2011, teen mental health was relatively stable. Sure, there were ups and downs, but nothing dramatic. Then, like a light switch being flipped, everything changed. Between 2010 and 2015, something rewired an entire generation's brain. And I mean literally rewired. We're talking about neurological changes that show up on brain scans. Let me paint the picture with numbers that will shock you. In just 5 years, 2010 to 2015, here's what happened to American teens. Depression among teen girls increased by 52%. Anxiety disorders rose by 45%. But here's the statistic that should make your blood run cold: emergency room visits for self-harm among girls aged 10-14 increased by 189%. 10 to 14 years old. And this wasn't just America. Haidt found identical patterns in the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and across Europe. Something global happened to children in 2012. Something unprecedented in human history. But what was so special about 2012? 3 things converged that year that created what Haidt calls the Great Rewiring. First, smartphone adoption hit critical mass. By 2012, over 50% of Americans owned smartphones. Second, social media went mobile. Instagram launched in 2010 but exploded in 2012. Snapchat launched in 2011. TikTok's predecessor, Musical, Lie, launched in 2014. For the first time in human history, kids could carry their social anxiety in their pockets 24/7. But third, and this is the part that makes it truly devastating, parents started giving kids unrestricted access to these devices while simultaneously becoming more overprotective in the real world. Kids couldn't walk to school alone, but they could access the entire internet unsupervised. Haidt calls this the shift from play-based childhood to phone-based childhood, and the psychological consequences have been catastrophic. Now you might be thinking correlation isn't causation, right? Maybe kids just got better at reporting mental health problems. Maybe the world just got more stressful. But Haidt found something that proves this is about phones and social media specifically. Before I reveal the smoking gun evidence that will end this debate forever, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments. Do you think your smartphone has made your life better or worse? Because what I'm about to show you will make you question every notification you've ever received. Here's the evidence that proves smartphones and social media are directly causing the mental health crisis. Haidt didn't just look at when mental health problems started. He looked at who they affected most. If this was just about general life stress or economic problems or school pressure, you'd expect to see mental health decline across all demographics equally. But that's not what happened. The mental health crisis hit girls 2-3 times harder than boys. Why? Because girls and boys use social media differently. Girls tend to engage in more social comparison, more relationship drama, more appearance-focused content. Boys tend to use phones more for gaming and videos. But here's the smoking gun: countries that adopted smartphones and social media later saw their mental health crisis start later. Countries that adopted them earlier saw it start earlier. The correlation is almost perfect. Even more damning, when researchers track individual kids over time, the ones who get smartphones and social media accounts earlier show steeper declines in mental health. The ones who get them later or not at all maintain better psychological well-being. But wait, it gets worse. Haidt found that social media isn't just making kids anxious. It's actually rewiring their brains in ways that make them incapable of handling normal life stress. Here's how it works. Adolescent brains are still developing, particularly the prefrontal cortex responsible for executive function and emotional regulation. Social media floods these developing brains with artificial dopamine hits and constant social comparison. The result? A generation that can't concentrate for more than a few minutes, can't handle face-to-face conflict, and interprets every social interaction as a potential threat. They've literally been trained by algorithms to be anxious. And here's the most disturbing part. The companies knew this would happen. Internal documents from Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok show they've known for years that their platforms are particularly harmful to teenage girls. They had research proving it, and they buried it. Let me be crystal clear about what Haidt has proven. We have conducted the largest uncontrolled experiment in human history on developing brains. We took an entire generation of children and gave them devices designed by teams of neuroscientists and behavioral psychologists to be as addictive as possible. The average American teenager now spends 7-9 hours per day on screens for entertainment. That's more time than they spend sleeping. More time than they spend with friends, family, homework, and physical activity combined. And we're surprised they're anxious? We've created a generation that lives more in virtual reality than actual reality. Their dopamine systems are completely hijacked. Their social skills are atrophied. Their attention spans are destroyed. Haidt's data shows that kids who spend more than 3 hours a day on social media have double the risk of depression and anxiety. Kids who spend more than 5 hours have triple the risk. And remember, the average is 7-9 hours. Before I tell you about Haidt's solutions and whether there's hope for the kids who are already damaged, I want you to do something. Look around you right now. Count how many people are staring at screens instead of interacting with the world. Share this video with a parent who needs to see this data. Here's what gives me hope about Haidt's research. The damage isn't necessarily permanent. Kids' brains are incredibly adaptable, but the solutions require coordinated action from parents, schools, and policymakers. Haidt proposes what he calls the 4 foundational reforms. First, no smartphones before high school. Give kids basic phones for safety, but no internet access until age 14 minimum. Second, no social media accounts before age 16. The research is clear: earlier exposure causes more damage. Let kids' brains develop before exposing them to algorithmic manipulation. Third, phone-free schools. Not just during class, all day. Kids need to relearn how to interact with each other without the crutch of digital communication. Fourth, give kids back unsupervised playtime in the real world. The overprotection that drove kids online needs to be reversed. Kids need to take reasonable risks, resolve conflicts, and build independence. But here's what's encouraging. When schools implement these changes, the results are immediate. Kids start talking to each other again. Attention spans improve. Anxiety levels drop. Social skills recover. And some countries are already acting on Haidt's research. France has banned smartphones in schools nationwide. Australia is considering similar measures. Several U.S. states are debating legislation. Even some tech executives are admitting the problem. Former Facebook and Google employees are restricting their own children's access to the platforms they helped create. But this isn't just about protecting future kids. This is about understanding that we're living through one of the largest public health crises in human history, and most people don't even realize it. The mental health crisis Haidt documents isn't just affecting teenagers. Young adults are entering college and the workforce with unprecedented levels of anxiety, depression, and inability to handle normal stress. We're seeing this play out in rising suicide rates, increasing mental health service usage, declining academic performance, and what some employers are calling an emotional fragility epidemic among young workers. But there's also a generational opportunity here. If we act now, we can be the generation that saved childhood. We can be the parents and educators who looked at the data and said, enough. Some families are already doing this. They're implementing digital Sabbaths, creating phone-free family time and prioritizing real-world activities, and their kids are thriving. The research shows that kids who maintain strong real-world relationships and limit social media use are not just surviving, they're excelling academically, socially, and emotionally. So what's the takeaway from Jonathan Haidt's terrifying research? First, the mental health crisis is real, it's unprecedented, and it's primarily caused by smartphones and social media rewiring developing brains. Second, this isn't inevitable. We have the power to reverse this trend, but it requires admitting that we've made a catastrophic mistake and taking coordinated action to fix it. Third, the solutions aren't complicated, but they require courage. We need to tell an entire generation of kids that the devices they're addicted to are destroying their mental health. If you're a parent, start today, set limits, create phone-free zones, prioritize real-world activities. If you're a teacher, advocate for phone-free schools. If you're a young person, be honest about how your phone makes you feel. Share this video with every parent, teacher, and policymaker you know. Subscribe for more content about protecting mental health in the digital age. Comment below with your own experience. Has your smartphone made your life better or worse? Because here's the truth Haidt's data reveals, we're not just dealing with a mental health crisis. We're dealing with the systematic destruction of childhood itself. And the only way to save our kids is to admit what we've done and fight to undo it. The anxious generation doesn't have to stay anxious forever, but saving them starts with acknowledging the problem. And the problem is staring at you from your pocket right now.